AC is blowing air, but it is not cooling, and it is also emitting a foul smell. Let's jump right in.
This coil was pretty filthy, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a deep clean. I like to use Triple D. I think it's one of the best coil cleaners out there. You just got to make sure that you rinse it real well with regular water once you're done. So right here, I'm just evenly spraying the Triple D and letting that do the work. And then I'm going to use a toilet brush and I'm scrubbing up and down. You don't want to scrub side to side. Up and down is what you want to do. You can see that there are some spots on this evap coil that are bent. Some of these fins are bent. Right here I got a fin straightener, and you can straighten these out. I just spent a little bit of time doing this. It's not a huge deal. Like 5% of this evap coil is bent. It's not going to make that much of a difference. Honestly, the only reason I pulled this out was to get it on video. I probably wouldn't have bothered if I wasn't filming it, but I did manage to straighten out some of these fins. Now I'm just using pure hot water, and I am going to soak this evap coil, and I'm going to keep spraying it until I can look down in the pan and see that only clear water is coming out. That drain was a little clogged and definitely not glued well, as you can see, but it did unclog after I shook it up a little bit and started draining like a champ. Next, I'm just going to clean out this condensation sensor. This is tied to the secondary drain line. I don't recommend these. They fail all the time and give false alarms all the time. But I am going to clean this out and make sure that it's nice and dry, because they can help prevent floods by shutting the unit off before it starts flooding. Here's the finished product. It's definitely a lot better than it was. Not too bad for a 12-year-old system. It's definitely not perfect, but it's good enough for apartment maintenance. Now we have 70 degrees inside. That's going to be our return air temp. Now I'm putting my thermometer into the supply vent, and I'm going to give it a little bit to see what our temperature drop is. So far, it's not looking that good.
Now I'm up here at the unit. Depending on conditions, you want your temperature drop between, 18 and 21 degrees. And we've got 10. That's definitely not good. And that cap is really on there. And I just heard refrigerant. When I did that, it was actually pushing in that valve core, but this cap is on way too tight. There's no need for that, none. There's an O-ring in there that just needs to sit against it, snug. Hooking up our vapor line. Our pressures are not horrible. Might be a little low, but we can't tell if it's charged correctly off gauge pressure and saturation temp alone. We also need to take the line temp. And this is a TXV, so we're going to be doing subcooling. And we want temp. We are in direct sunlight. We don't want that. So we want to give it some shade. There we go. Make sure that clamp's still on that 3/8 liquid line. Okay, we've got 72.2. And we have 88 saturation. And that will leave us with, this is starting to come up now. Wondering if that coil being wet is still affecting this. It might be. Either way, 88, 76. We've got a 12-degree subcool. I think this charge is spot on. Our suction vapor pressure is starting to rise. Let's check out our superheat. All right, I've let this run for about 10 more minutes just to completely rule out that coil being wet. I know it's dry enough to register. And our superheat, 30 saturation. We've got a high superheat of 40. And our saturation liquid has pretty much stayed the same. But our line temp has not. Now we're at a 4-degree subcool. Let's add some refrigerant and get that subcooling back up to about 12, 15. And see if that raises our suction pressure, our vapor pressure, and we always charge blended refrigerants upside down. If you watch the series, I'm gonna start sounding like a broken record, so I'm gonna keep saying the same stuff, but maybe eventually it will stick. And the longer this runs, the more our superheat is dropping. So this is why it's important to let the system run for at least 15 minutes after doing a coil cleaning. I'm gonna bleed the air out. Once I see liquid come out, I'm 100% sure there's no air in these lines. And I'm just gonna do very short, quick spurts because I don't have a charging port on my tank. Count to 3 and shut down and just let it adjust. Already our vapor pressure and saturation temp has gotten right above freezing. Our saturation is going up to 90. And our line temp is rising with it. Our vapor pressure and saturation temp. By the way, I keep saying that. So our pressure, vapor pressure, and saturation temp, they work together. If this is 110, then the temperature is going to be 36, and it's fixed like that. So the saturation will rise with the vapor pressure. All right, I just saw that needle move. On our liquid line, we've got 96 and 90. Now we're starting to stack liquid. Now we got to be careful. I'm gonna wait a little longer in between spurts, because once that liquid starts stacking, the subcooling starts shooting up. See that line temp? A 10-degree subcooling. We could put a little more in. I just want to show you guys the relationship between superheat and subcooling. Our superheat now should drop quite a bit. I want to keep that covered up. I don't want that in direct sun. And always give your temp clamps about a minute to adjust. So our superheat is at about 28. We take our line temp and then subtract our saturation temp for superheat. And again, we take our saturation temp and subtract it from our liquid line temp for our subcool. Now, I'm not charging by superheat though. I'm not gonna keep adding refrigerant till the superheat comes down. If it doesn't come down, that's another issue. I think I can get a couple more degrees of subcooling and that should drop that superheat. And now that it's sat for a while, I'm checking my subcooling again. And we have 15 degrees subcooling. I'm not adding any more refrigerant. 15 degrees subcooling. And we got about a 28, 27 degree superheat. Now let's go run downstairs and check our temperature drop before the unit turns off. I went ahead and grabbed my leak detector. So I'm gonna do a quick leak search on that Evap coil. I did. Back up here at the roof, I'm gonna unhook all of this stuff, unhook these gauges, and now I'm gonna do a leak search on the condenser. And I kind of already have a very good idea on where it's coming from. I could be wrong, but use your signs of vision when looking for leaks. I can see discoloration up here and all the way down, and the camera's not going to pick this up, but there's dirt and there's a very definitive line back there, like an oil line. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to pull the plug on this. I'm going to warm up my leak detector. Look at all that discoloration. Look at those wires. The old Goodman wire run to the fan motor. They're not quite burnt through yet. I'll put a little tape there, better than nothing, but I'm gonna start right up here. I'm not picking up anything. Not picking up anything. All right, I'm gonna button everything back together. So I spent about 10 minutes going over this. I'm gonna make sure our O-rings are in. And I leak searched the valve cores, and I didn't pick up anything anywhere, but like I said, when I first took these caps off, they were on tight, and I heard and felt refrigerant come out when I loosened them. And they just need to be on snug. And they should come off just as easy. Just snug. And make sure those O-rings are in there. There we go. Because I did feel the refrigerant and hear it come out with those valve core caps when I first gauged up, I'm not too concerned that I didn't find the leak with a refrigerant detector. I usually find leaks within like 10 minutes, and that's about all I'm gonna spend on searching that coil, especially since I know that. Plus I've got another AC call to go to, a sewer backup. This is like my 4th AC call today, and it's only 1 o'clock, so got a lot of work to do, but I'm pretty happy with that. We will monitor it. Now, if it's low on charge again in the next year, then I might do a more extensive leak search. I may go as far as UV dye,
It just all depends. I'd probably do UV dye before I did a isolation test. Anyways, thanks for watching. My name's Dave. See you on the next one.